and welcome to the S'mores and Stripes roadcast. Today, we are having a lot of fun on our podcast today because our tech is treating us just super well this morning. But today's guest represents something we talk about often on S'mores and Stripes, not just preserving history, but inheriting responsibility. We're joined today by Michael Federer, a next generation leader of the Federer family ministry and son of historian and author William Federer. For decades, the Federer family has helped millions of Americans reconnect with the stories of principle, faith, and providence that shape this nation. But what makes this conversation especially meaningful, that Michael isn't simply studying America's covenant story, he lives the responsibility of carrying it forward. So in many ways, he represents something deeply American, what we call a modern Mayflower family. So not because of celebrity, not because of politics, but because of inheritance. A family saying these stories matter, this faith matters, this sin is preserving, and more to believe God makes families, and families make America great. And this question is really about value, covenant, memory, family, and responsibility for one. The next, Michael, part of a rising generation, being asked a serious question: will we merely inherit America, or will we stand to steward it? So we're excited to talk about this. Family legacy, a general stewardship, and what it means to carry the story forward very age. So, Michael, welcome to Swords and Stripes. Can you hear us okay? Okay, it's okay. We're up and running.
Absolutely.
I think the updates are.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for obviously it's a job and shared in stone, but we're going to move forward. But
Didn't have to have absolutely with anyone. So, okay, so right, so let's start with industry. So this is preserve the American story, growing environment. We first realized this isn't mission. This is part of our family.
Andy, Jen, it's so great to be with you. You know, right off the bat, I want to say that I'm very impressed with what you're doing. You know, we have so many organizations that will address a specific early on. Now, before realizing the utility of history, I would say that we're driving from St. Louis to Florida. It should take about 16 hours. Why does it always end up taking 18 hours? That's because you stop every historic mile marker. At the time, you know, this is just another old thing happened, but I had this experience with my friends, and I was able to tell a history story that shed so much light on what was happening currently that they said, oh, you know what, Mike's right. And since then, I've kind of leaned in history. It becomes the currency of truth. In a world that is so quick to deceive and lead people down the wrong path, it's so grounding and orienting to know your history. If you know where you come from, what you stand for, you're not going to be fooled very easily. So history is very important to my family. There is real utility in history, and that's what we're trying to show the world today. It's not just stuff that it's going to help understand current events and navigate them more effectively.
No, I love that. I love that history is the currency of truth. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, a couple of things, Michael. So Bill has written a bunch of different books from Miracles in American History. This is a really good, great read. Yeah, it is. It's Susie, right? Help us understand how it worked.
Yeah, so my mother said, get big part more quickly. And so if you read others written over 30 books, and most of them, it'll down to this. And you've stepped over topic. Now, the thing about our ministry and our history is that we have 6 years of recorded history. We go back to some form. And so we study global history. But to speak about that, America stands out. There's only few countries that their origins are not from a king, a Caesar. There's really this unique origin of the United States. And anyway, we have all these books that are an expert on the topic. My mother, she says, you know, you start getting to the good part more quickly. That's where she introduced the Miracles American History short story series, and we thought it would be an addition to history. Turns out these are some of the most requested stories that we have. We speak often because we have a few Miracles American History. So it's a volume 1, Evolutionary War, well, there's a volume 2 where we kind of expand on some of Andy and I talked about, but we showed the operation getting the Lord and the early prayer analogy, well, picture big magnets and a bunch of the magnets on the ground. Now that big magnet guys 2 sides, blessing and judgment. Us little magnets on the ground, we have used as well. We on the covenant side, and it's particularly about the Mayflower Compact covenant made in 1620. But we also have a dishonored covenant side. And when you read these stories, miracles in American history, you know, I believe in coincidences, but we see all the coincidences happening repeatedly on one side of events. You know, what is the X factor? What is really going on here? And you see that they're honoring covenant. They're honoring this agreement made with the Lord. And because of that, we were fighting. To pin that, I always say that if you were to run Revolutionary War 10 times, 9 to 10, the United States, we did lose. Even though we had technological disadvantages, we did not have numbers, we had the Lord or Providence on our side, as he had written that. But there's a dynamic of relationship where we honor the Creator, we honor the covenant, we receive blessed. So that's been our history stories. Volume 2 focuses on that dynamic, how they're Dana in prayer prior to the miracle. This one that I gifted in our good friend DJ and Eddie Ministries. We love these miracle stories. We take our favorites from Volume 1, our favorites from Volume 2. We want to in either of those and gather this edition book. So that miracle series.
Awesome.
I come up quite a bit.
I'd love to see the price cover in 24. Did you guys realize that? I mean, so there was so much going on here. Because you have. This is so copacetic to what we put together and done with the Book of American Virtues. It's fantastic. So we got the devotional structure, the heroes, and the I'm running the normal we talk about that for a little while. This is fantastic.
And some great stories in there. And what I like to describe, you know, each story in there is a quarter. You're needing on points, and there's no reasonable way that you can win. Somehow you pull it off. So every story, every chapter is like that. Every list, then the Lord moves and there's victory.
Isn't that's entirely what the Bible's made of as well? Takes those who would be considered an underdog, puts them in the best places to make sure that his will is complete.
The Lord, absolutely. So,
Love it.
the next one, so we're going to staple now, miracles
They
of
all
history
are,
1
yeah.
and 2. The next one is socialism, the real history from Plato to Kant. But it goes like everything. But I love now this look at it is that it's going all the way back. It's taking a look at socialism and saying, look, it's a pattern that repeats throughout history. It's not so much an economic model, however, it's just a mindset model that goes all the way back to where the government replaces the family. And so, tell the more about your thoughts on how it's just when I was reading it, the little bit I was like, this is just replacing government, the dog home with the government, and the nurturing of the poly, and the sense of philosophy, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was really great. It was super great.
Well, that's my teach on often, and I'm so glad that you had their book really called Who Came to America, an overview of success in history. And what it sees that listening in America kind of describes how rare we are and what a phenomenon in the true sense of the word that we have this opportunity to govern ourselves. If you look through history, as I kind of mentioned before, King Pharaoh still as we saw very rarely see people governing themselves. Now, the book kind of said why we're protecting in the socialism book. When you read through that, like you said, it goes all the way back to Plato. The complete title is Socialism, the real history to the present, how the state capitalizes on crisis, consolidate, control. Nice short stuff there.
Yes.
And like you said, it's over 100 short chapters. It goes from Plato and history to the 2000. And what you see is that there is no fertile soil for this ideology. It doesn't matter where on the globe geographically. It doesn't matter what time period. There's no fertile soil for this ideology. And like you mentioned, Andy, it starts almost always with pushing God out so the state can become the highest authority. Everyone has a pyramid in mind. God should occupy the top of that pyramid. If you remove God, whatever second is important tends to move up. You know, we see this today in America with this vehement defending of people's political views. It's almost as if this has become religion. So you see from this book, we go from Plato, Machiavelli, which I think we can get more into this book as we continue because it really illustrates how family and God are what make us impervious to the attacks of those who would like to usurp our power. But Machiavelli, all up to the 2000s. So, I could share stories from either of these books if you like.
Let's real quick. What is on your mind? We here. What I really love about this is the way that your mission works is that it's not just instinctual. It's not just vibes. It puts academics. It puts hard data around really what should be natural to most, which is family, the pursuit of happiness, which is God's will, the word, the American component in America. Would you like to share something from it?
Yeah, let's do a few. We'll save the story for the end, and we're going to with that. So, this is one book I do teach on often. I had mistakenly recorded it in an audio booth, and because of that, you end up reading books several times more than you expected. But it's so relevant. So, question: does the world seem divided today?
No.
A little bit.
Absolutely.
Look, and it's just organic. It was just happening. But you look at this through the lens of history, you get a story. So there are two kinds of people. There are people that see crisis and they rush in, they want to help them back. But there is another class of people that say there's a crisis. How do we benefit from this? How do we use our power from this? And then one step further, if there's no crisis occurring naturally, are those actually manufactured crisis? Well, let's go to Machiavelli. This is late 1800s. Machiavelli is, I don't see his name, but he's considered the founder of modern politics. And you hear a story that's not going to be an accolade. It's not a good thing necessarily.
Right.
Machiavelli, just to sum up, he wanted to unite the city-states in Italy. This was such a noble cause that he was willing to leave his morals on the shelf to unite these city-states. He thought he could do that in fighting. But what you see is he understood there was crisis. He could ride in and demand to be a hero, and this would be how he would unite the United States. But there was no crisis. What would he do? Well, he would pay and run people to incite violence. And summing this up, Machiavelli is the guy that would light your house on fire in the back, walk around the front door, knock on your door, and say, "Hey, your house is on fire. Don't worry, I brought you a fire extinguisher." Not only do you thank him for being there, but you had to find a fire extinguisher. He really turned this into art. Now, we tell several stories that echo that same sentiment because you see that this isn't one-off. This is part of the playbook. So when we see this talk of deception today, and they say this is unprecedented, that doesn't really happen. We can track all the way back from ancient history to today. I want to pass this back to you, but I'd like to talk about Yuri Bezmenov and kind of bring that tactic to America so we can see the roots of some of the division that we're facing today. But so I could keep talking the whole time, so go ahead.
No, honestly, this is really I love listening. I really do. I love just being a student of constitution because. But what we're definitely seeing from America is what in our modern day is a more concerted effort to push individualism and to push further division in the family. Okay. And so by having just a good family that's just happy things seems to be very discredited because it may be it's time to pinpoint the.
No, exactly. If you're on God and family, it's like you have a coat of armor on to this war. This world is going to have you turning inward and questioning who you are. And we all remember being young. Fitting is paramount. Young people want to have friends. They'll give me these shoes. Dad, can you buy me this? Can you buy me this stuff? They want to fit in. And what happens if that's weaponized? Now, I want to just kind of set the stage a bit for the show we're seeing in America. When did this happen? Let's go back to World War II. So World War II, the whole world sees the military strength of the United States. It's bold as and then the United States, they just want to front war. Maybe they want to defeat them into a battlefield. This is the Cold War against shift. And that's being a battlefield. They want to rock the apple from the inside. They want to unite French the communist Italian philosophers speaks of the long march to intuition, better known as Fifth Column Warfare. Now, this third column, where does this come from? All the back in history, you had Philip II of Macedon. Now, this is about the famous conqueror Alexander the Great, and Philip II of Macedon was known to use Fifth Column Warfare tactics. So what do we mean by that? Well, typical formation of two lengths. Where does that come? The Fifth Column was already in enemy camp, creating confusion, sowing discord. That would by them to the rock. They wouldn't be able to mount a proper defense. After the people would say, "No, I hear he's liberating, he's not conquering them, he's not such a bad guy." So this tactic of Fifth Column Warfare goes all the way back. So bring it forward quickly. In 1984, Yuri Bezmenov, a KGB divider, goes on a popular show, the Edward Griffin Show, and he gives an interview. Basically starts to tell what KGB agents have been doing around the world, but namely in America. They'll break into different steps: demoralize, destabilize, crisis, and a period of normalization. But really, what do they mean by that? Really, if I just boil it down, they are looking for groups that they can fit against each other. They don't care if it's black versus white, rich versus poor, Christian versus non-Christian. They can get us, turn each other. Now, the demoralization base is about 20 years. You have to get people, children. You have to get children when they're young, and consider that this is not only not exploited, but you can critical it. Forget the fact you found others, you navigate the country, something so rare in World War III, and just focus on the downfall of them. This will not come, but really, it takes 20 years to get these young people to have surely the United States is a unique and very beautiful place to be. To now critiquing the conflict. Here's the thing: before it was people portraying lies knowingly. Now it is the useful idiot. It is the person who maybe they just were introduced to the wrong information. We love on them, but they have been indoctrinated with this ideology, and now they're bringing others. So when you have kids that want it in, and then there's a social and organized classroom, they're talking to young people to teach these that America is in fact a unique nation. Am I still with you?
Yeah, you're still here. It's Florida. It's
You're doing the right thing.
so bad, guys. I love this there because I love this specificity of how long it takes to demoralization, how far does it people that brings out confusion and destroy. It's phenomenal, Michael. It's really great. I really appreciate it.
And that's why I appreciate what you're doing, is because you help me with half of the armor. You need to identity God to some people. But having identity and family is another coat of armor. Now, a little less weird these days. We got great people. They didn't ask me for this. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm really proud of turning point right now. We have Unity Center. This is like Pastor Lucas Miles. He really had vision. Matt, and believe it or not, Andy Jimson's Arena as turning point right. So I know we have good people in the church, but the other thing that came out is family. We're going to get these people from the world, put on some not seed and who am I? What I like, what kind of people do I like? All these things that these people in or keep being a true member of society. There's always without armor, judging their name in God and love other family. Whereas like walking the house, love parents, things, it's like a mirror reflecting who you are to you. So when you leave the house, you actually know who you are. You don't need people to fill that in and define you for you. Your family is your identity. So I'm not sorry about the church. We have people tonight, but I feel like it was a weight family. Now you're reminding us this is so the family unit to help young people find identity, not just for the word, but also for their family. Physically help them out in life. I want to thank you for the word.
Yeah, life starts with God, and goes in God, and then virtue, and then excellence, rose by road school, etc. So, well, speaking of family, and one thing that I really want to understand is that we say all the time that family missions is that the table decision that you make as a family, this is what we're going to do, not just in our science church, not just in our volunteership at school, but what we're going to do to affect the rest of the country. So you feel like you call, just feel like it's what this side we're going to do. It's all God one way or the other. But what I love about Federer is Michael and Susie and Michael are all in there. I feel like this is the pattern of the way that God intended things to affect the nation. So it's the decision of courage, and some do some things, some specific other things, like how things for that. So so American remain free for 250 years. What has happened inside the American home first? You know, all these friends know the founding so well, American history and world history so well. What has happened in the home from your perspective?
Well, some of the sports right now, really dark. Yeah, I'm completely ashamed. I want people to realize how great you are. You are right over the bullseye. I'm complimenting you. If you weren't actually this, but really, 250 years is important to make over here. It's the average element the nation can operate before moral decay and decline sin. Now, what will stop them happening? If people think they are, and they forget what they stand for, it's like a generation picking up and saying, you know, let's see somewhere. I'm not sure where, I'm not sure what time. Imagine that happening to an entire nation. You don't understand, like, I can't recall what it is. So the first chance is simple. You know, we are Americans. We know how rare this opportunity for ourselves is. When you look at recorded history, it jumps out at you. There's only a few instances people governing themselves effectively. One notable one would be the 400 Kings, all now referred to as the Republic. But others, us, still America, 150 in this experiment. This is a time where we have to forget who we are and watch the world day set in, or we remember who we are, remember what we stand for, and that's just our houses. So I'm in full circle here. But history, I know it can be taught in boring ways, whereas remember these facts, people do recite them, and I'm for you guys. But my friend Mike always really working hard to change that. I'm going to shout out the Bud and of the American story. I heard this sometimes, but they did such a job of giving you all information, but putting it in story format. And any gen, when you think of your life, how do you remember it? It's typically a story. And you have certain story arcs. Well, in that with our nation, you start to see, oh, this is important time. This is where we're at in the story arc. This is where you go to find a victory or let chaos and controversy settle in. So we have to remind people they are. It's a great way to do that. Certainly, any of us, educate you, we video for them, use our materials, to lessons, and ball builders, number phenomenal. Also, recommend American experience. We really love them, but they have to bring history to life. You take it there, and they say, let's use last 20 years. I don't think it's handling it. Don't see the whole of these artifacts, see them, and kind of brings it to life. So making history fun, exciting, but reminding young people this is who we are. It is a blessing to be here in America.
Absolutely. Amen.
I would say I was totally unprivileged to be at public school as a kid, and unfortunately, the way that I was taught history was just facts and names, numbers. You weren't taught to love history, taught to memorize specific facts. You could pass it, just like you were saying. And the problem with doing that is you don't learn to love it. You don't learn to really understand where you're coming from as people as a whole. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, wait a minute, these were real people from my ancestors. I'm a direct descendant from William Federer. Because when he wrote Mayflower Compact and America, that's something that a torch to carry forward, something that you put in the DNA. That's something I'm supposed to be continuing to tune on. No, we have history and it's those things word, and it doesn't have the nature of our continuing generations remember and work for as well.
Absolutely. So I remember we were pretty American virtues, and the reason why I say the story, we felt stories, so early exposition and facts and years. The reason why stories important because we're not for that. I believe we're not virtue, story works, and it's natural. So devotional, these are moments as you're talking about, as you get to is climax, you run the moment of virtue, and the moment of virtue is decision, because virtue is decision, where you choose your and it falls away sometimes as history continues, and that's why what guys was continue. When we choose virtue, we choose faith, we can choose and move us to a strong resolution. And it's very important because it absolutely develops human nature up to life. And when false history comes in, as they were talking about, 7 trials history, when false history comes in, it just shows that story, even as a structure. And so therefore, our identity is in challenge when we pick families on memories around those stories, around true stories of identity. So the history side, not just history side, I living in around this. I'm in this history. Just wait for me. We have too much specific, which is fantastic.
I go talk to Tim out there and I'm student of history.
Yes, exactly.
The other history like numbers. You one chapter, once you kind of fill it in your mind, move on how to do it. So, I understand the veil and stuff for this, and I'm pretty sure it's way better. And each little chapter that you learn, it's not much in for you. Just that's very much your point about story. There's a book I had to read, Why for Story, and it goes into science of you just how human mind is ideology and story. And like you said, I understand that's why Bible is on stories that we remember to. In fact, future things, all those and those, the knowledge, the passion, and the will. But consider, you have not been meaning to them. You have a sense that you have all those are people we all leaders. I think that you can have all the why I want to podcast with you. And one of them goes to my sports website. You'll find Joshua 15. That's one of my house rules for the Lord. But that's the other thing. We're talking history, but physically. And Lord, Skywalker, quick, Proverbs 28, listen, for instruction. You're not sick from repeating. We've got the first Exodus 25, 100 the day of the long land that your Lord God is giving you. That the land you're rising, that God will have lives. Ephesians 5 and 5. I mean, all about the Bible, verse 26. Such a awful way to go, and even when they're old will never commit. I mean, literally, kiss the word, really, it's able to do. So,
you just get out there. Like in Joshua said, I stepped out not as a it was, not general, even what was, as a father, as a Jesus, anywhere. Whereas God makes accounting, so me and my house, we were, and as a mother, our family, we were around our hands together, and we go for Jesus, we go for our prayer, and then we put hands together, and can't be with family, and we think that's for me, and cheer on the wheels of the Lord. And after that, Joshua and he then spoke back and said, yeah, what's going to do? And I said, well, that's nice that you've got to make God's own, so you have to one, and obviously you come to God. And so I created this song and put it on a boat, and Oak Tree Gone It's a national radio. Then and so this pattern of local history, there's control the home, cleansing the home, and other things around. That's the way Jacob Moses, the other person, even Savior, who's over here, even Savior, when I mean, in our science, he didn't do that, important to do that, there's do it, he's listening to the home, there's a prayer home, and you'll find when you find something that how you prepare for us. And if you family prepare around when we there, not only what we have there, and it's very much our faith works, faith in Jesus Christ works, is that we prepare our hearts and prepare our home, Jesus loves us, we're not, we faith in Jesus Christ the Lord in the way, Rome those great sections. So here you go, 1954, 1854, our that's not the story for 44 years. Yeah, it's 48 years prior, everything's in that home. I'm down, just really not Chicago, anybody, let's going, there's some history, but there's not really and I just didn't really do that, I see God, then they consider that one of the dollars just on water, and actually that's I concentrate properly with I support both sides. That was our fun, because it's like I want to write something that that's our class and we're going to think it's just but a lot of these stories are really for reasons. I don't really need to be helpful for about I've shared it. I feel stable for another word about that. We've had time and we want to take things up. And maybe my mom knows we can continue copying the Charlie well with other question. And then we can say that we then but then about things like that. Not you know, it's angels about the word love to shade. I had there's different things there role my names, but you see your love, you angels. Now personally, when it's humans, you love the time. Just gives them security, you love me. And then certainly creating a God. Slayer. And again, Slayer,
most funny love. Is it saying over the how sharp the idea God wants to love? So he's got how he didn't want to live outside. He gave you the people that bring him to the next season. You see that he wants love. And that's what he wants to that's not just to what he wants to do. It's different than and I think the same thing is that whole support that love that teaching out of is that we're doing is really important. People see okay, what is it? People go to social. See are all things and stuff is religion. People know there's a things to remember dragons to everything fit when they have this debate. They was top 10 we said you can sure like I'm sure and about that's what I want to start that what is it? How can it got you? As you see it's push out and it's title and it's teaching you made and you have the regular it's actually having access to it. So let's start here. What were you thinking towards the stage where I'm thinking with the overview of the state for Russia called Green Space. So we can now see money in the market. So it's really it's really good in the room and so it's not able to want to really have this for that for the I say it's all about it and should be for the other is the right say switch from the or now we're making for you just almost like just for the thing on the we're there but it's like it's like it's not another well it's one name that's all the other things I and it's a little bit more now and actually I these things for it's like it's over us so we have few milestones but we're so seeing what's times happening to really you the new commission I so my you're back the link so he is to come here only for the color it's actually what's happening today in church like but later see it from I'm being taken they can talk about you know that I think there will have about it so I'm they can carry this it's very important so once it's and also I want to bring about kind of we're in this United Kingdom getting I'm just the development and just now and that actually the finance go first and we have here they it's one I can't believe the new already that we're the first calendar you know all the time okay look at the conversation here there's a lot of stuff about that so we're here people are trying to so we have the doctor for easy right there and I'm not making this is things I mean they all things so in the two years so we're just here to see what's going to really for me you know I don't get it like that's really feeling the how we like to work night that is we sit my that's like that's what it's we are just already work on it it's only going to be interesting how like yes, exactly.